Hey folks, welcome to Atonuv Open Studio, episode 6, your nightly mixed feedback live stream. At any time, you can send tracks to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. That is in the description right there. So far, I've got one track in the mailbox, and that is from Oscar. I'm going to go ahead and put Oscar's info in the chat bar. People were saying that would be a good idea. So far, we've just got the one. I'll be here for a couple hours, so at any time, feel free to send something in. And also, if you have a general question about music production, we can go ahead and take a look at that as well. You know, it's up to you, and we'll just talk about music stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a second to let people kind of get their bearings, get into the chat, and all of that. So, you know, say what's up at any point if you are here, etc., etc. So let me put some info in the chat. Hey, Scarholm. So we'll get to your track in 1 minute. We'll see. We'll let some people get into the chat. It's not quite 6 yet, so we'll give people a minute. All right, if you are watching on Facebook, I don't really have total access to the chat, watching on a bunch of stuff. You can send tracks to atonuvrecords@gmail.com, and we'll go ahead and get it in the stream, and we'll take a look at your mix and get detailed feedback on what we can do to tighten it up. And this is the 6th day of this stream, the first time that I'm restreaming it around the internet, just to get more people set it on tracks. All right. So it is 6:03. That's a good time to start. I am going to pull up Scarholm's track, and we're going to take a listen to it. All right, and this is a total DIY track. It was described to me as totally mixed, recorded, mastered by you. So we're going to just take a look at kind of the whole shebang on this track. Give it a little volume. And let's take a listen. Wrong track. Here we go.
It was so fun when we met last Saturday night. It was illegal and funny, we did it alright. And now we gotta cooperate with society. Never have I met someone like you. Got a feeling for meaning I can't let go. And now we're dabbling around in reality. Traveling far beyond the ocean, we can stay as long as we're in motion. We can drive many miles an hour, sleep in the car and make a campfire. Would you go? Would you go? Would you go? Would you go with me? You leave another dimension of. Would you bother? Would you bother with your love? We can seek it, seek the stone and make it out alive. I believe in another dimension of. Would you bother? Would you bother with your love? We can seek it, seek the stone and make it out alive. Oh. Maybe that's the last stop on this road, but I gotta find myself somewhere in the cold. While we're standing at the edge of our history, I feel like a bird in a hurricane, and I know that it's pretty hard to explain. I just wanna have something to show the world. Oh, we can go anywhere we
Well, that's a great track. I mean, that sounds like straight up belongs in a movie, television show. People could be having a good time to it. I mean, that's great song, great songwriting. All the layering, it's really great. You're introducing new instruments throughout the piece, and it's really clean. The recording is very clean. I have very few things that I would say about it. And this is released, this is on Spotify. Feel free to drop a link in the chat. I think people should listen to this, put it on their playlists. So this is already out in the world. You know, this is great. I would call this very, very good. There are a few things that I would maybe take a look at on a very nitty-gritty level to maybe think about the next time you're doing something, because there's a lot of great stuff here, and maybe just a couple of tweaks in like mindset could get an even better result. But, you know, I got to say, this is starting at a really, really, really great spot. So kind of working from the ground up, the low end, I first off feel like the relationship between 120 and 60 should be reversed. You're very hot at like 120, 125, 150. It sounds really good. It's like you've got really, really nice, your bass sounds good, you know? And I think that you've leaned on it a little too hard because it sounds good. And we have a lot of info at like 125, and it's outweighing 60. So we're kind of like missing that like heartbeat driving feel. And part of that is like personal taste. Like, I guess I've done so many live techno shows in my life as a sound engineer in Detroit that I'm like, where's that 60? So I first off feel like that like 120 region could maybe come down a little bit, and the 60 could come up a little bit. We could just tilt it just a little more towards 60. What I feel is less subjective and less to taste is down below 100. I isolated it on my sub. The kick, there's like a whole lot of rumble and mud from the bass down in that sub region. And I bet you could carve your bass away, because it's like really nice in that like 100 to 200 region. You could take away a fair amount of information below 100 from your bass to clean it up a little bit, and also give that kick room to breathe, because it's that punch of the kick down below 100, it's barely poking out above the bass rumble. We do have separation, but it could use a little bit more. So, you know, that's super picky. The track is good. And then working our way up the frequency spectrum, like so much nice stuff happening in the mids. This is a very organic, natural, classic vibe. And as such, you're pretty, there's a lot of stuff happening from 100 up to 2K. It's pretty filled out there. And I'm not even going to say that that's bad. Like, it feels appropriate, but there's like a pretty big drop off after 2K in this mix. Like it's pretty noticeable. So it's really warm. It's a really warm mix because you've got like a whole lot of mid-range. And I would maybe cut the difference and make sure that you're giving some presence over 2K. It would just make it feel a little bit brighter. It would make it like leap out of the speakers a little more, and it could help the mix. It could lift the mix. You could be a little more. You could spread stuff out a little bit more because you have a lot going on in the mix, and it's bordering on like feeling cramped in the mid range. So in your mix process, you have a little more room to throw stuff above 2K just to separate stuff out where it's present, where it's hitting. That's like a general thing. And then like if I listen to it,
This road, thought I gotta find myself somewhere in the cold. Problem, standing at the edge of.
I mean, like this is vocal city, so like we're centered around that mid range, but at the same time, while this isn't like a banger and we don't want it slamming, like I feel like that snare could have more sizzle and crack, and that's like up at like 2K, that's at 1.5K. You could even get some of that out at 4K, which also, you have room in the mix to blow that up a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
Like a bird in a hurricane, and I know.
there's just an overall like excitement and forwardness that this mix could have if there was a little more going on up top. It's still very good, and it's still like, I just listened to it again. I'm like, that just sounds really nice because you're highlighting your voice, you're highlighting the song, and I see like what you're going for. But at the same time, like in the future, maybe experiment with getting a little more comfy above 2K. By all means, this isn't bad, Now let's talk about the master. So interesting. So hold on. There's a lag in the video and the chat. So I'm just going to ask like specific questions in the chat. So I'm just seeing like what your monitor setup is like, because sometimes if we are in a room, like stuff above 2K, if we're in a space and cool. So just checking into a couple of things here in the chat. So getting used to listening to higher frequencies, it could be a room issue. Like if there's any sort of room reflections, then stuff above 2K can pile up and be uncomfortable. But I will say, like listening to it, okay, room's not treated. There we go. So if your room's not treated, then you're going to be really susceptible to, first off, like some, smushy bass frequencies, which could explain some of that rumble in the low end. And then if you have pings and pops coming off of your walls, then everything above 2K, you might be getting like doubling or pinging and all that. And that could account for like feeling like it's uncomfortable above 2K. So what you can do is for like relatively cheap, you could set up a reflection-free zone between your speakers and your ears. So all you got to do, like, no foam, none like the Orlex stuff, but like the rigid room treatment like the Prima Acoustic. You can get that for just like a few panels, for like $100, $150. And you just put the panels between your ears and your speakers, and that sets up a reflection-free zone. And as far as just immediate bang for your buck, setting up an RFZ is going to take care of a whole lot of issues for the least amount of cash. Like, you don't have to go crazy on bass traps and diffusers and a cloud and all that. I mean, like, eventually you would want to, but as far as just the thing that'll get you the furthest as far as room treatment is just setting up an RFZ. And you can do that for not a terrible amount of money, and it's easy, and you don't have to, like, take a bunch of measurements and all that. Just make it so that it's not pinging between you and your speakers. So as I'm listening to your track, what I'm hearing and what I'm observing is there's just no energy and excitement up top. It sounds pretty mid-rangey, and it's very good, and it sounds like a classic 70s record, but I'm thinking about, like, what does a classic 2020 record sound like? And a 2020 record has, like, top end. So I feel like if you got into a space where it sounds better above 2K, then you're going to make a song that has more energy above 2K. So that's like what I observed with my ears. And then if we pull up an analysis of the track, we can see that that's the case. We hit 2K, and then it scoops. So what you're missing up there is like the harmonics and the excitement and the saturation and the energy of the track that all lives up there, and the presence and the frequencies that, like, grab the listener. Where it's, we get into this thing where, like, stuff above 2K is it's dangerous because it can sound bad. It can sound really bad. If we're hyped to 2K, it sounds horrible. But if we like 2K in particular, like 2K, there's, like, tons of, like, vaguely conspiratorial videos about, like, how 2K is the pain frequency and 2K is evil and all that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that 2K is important because it's where, and every human has a slightly different point, but anywhere from 1 to 4K, that's where our ears are the most sensitive. And like, that region, that's just where we, like, pick up the most. Like, we're just very, very sensitive from 1 to 4K. So, and for a lot of people, like, that culminates that 2K is, like, the pain frequency, that if you just get hit with 2K, it can cause, like, physical discomfort. And the reason that is because we're very, very sensitive in that region. But it works the other way too. Like, too much 2K and it causes pain. But if 2K is missing from a sound, we totally notice it. It sounds dull. Like, we will notice a lack of 2K just as much as we'll notice too much 2K, but it just doesn't hurt. So it's easier to go too far back on the 2K. So yeah, I mean, you did such a cool, amazing job with everything from 125 to 2K. And what I suspect is that 125 to 2K is in your room, in your listening environment, because you clearly know what you're doing, because this is a killer mix from 125 to 2K. And you don't have a sub, your room isn't treated, and I noticed issues below 100. Your room isn't treated, there's issues above 2K. So I feel like you're in such a good place because everything that you were hearing accurately, you mixed the heck out of it. like amazing in that region that I'm sure your room is good in. So if you improve your room, you're going to improve your mix. And that's like the end of that. So dial in that room and you're going to be in an amazing place. Now, let's talk about like the mastering side of things, because you did master this and you definitely didn't mess it up. So that's really cool. You sent me this wave, and there's I'm gonna talk about just the observations that I have on this wave, but any number of things could change. Like if this isn't like what you uploaded, or if this is like a download of an upload or whatever, things could change. But what I'm seeing is you're a little too conservative on loudness, which is a great place to be, because if you go too far the other directions, then we have like actual problems. This isn't a problem. Like, it's totally fine to not have the loudest master in the world. Like, everyone has volume dials. Okay, cool. It's what you uploaded. So, but just so you know, as far as hitting like industry standard, you could push this harder and still have it be clean and transparent without getting any like huge penalties and dynamics and vibe and all that. Like, this could get pushed up a bit hotter. So, if we take a look at it,
I believe in another dimension now.
all right, so this is the Matt DR meter 2, and it's my favorite loudness meter. And what we've got going on is we have peak value, RMS, so like loudness over time, and then the dynamic range. So using all three of these readings, we can get a really good sense of like good final loudness. So first off, your peak values. So your true peak is hitting at -1. You could do -0.1, -0.2, like set your true peak limiter to that. And that's like generally what people are doing. So there's a little bit of room that you could get there. And it'll still sound perfectly good. So first off, that like the ceiling that you've set could be a bit hotter.
It's how it is supposed to be. You and I, we can work together, show the world, make the earth better.
Okay, so and then when we get into the loudest sections of the piece, we're hitting -13 RMS. And that's like really good. Like, once again, if this was 1976, like, bam, knocked this out of the park, like completely good. And we would call like RMS 13 like audiophile quality. There's like a lot of nice things to say about it. But as far as being competitive in the modern market, we can get up to -9, -8 RMS in those loudest sections without getting, like, with modern compression and limiters and all of those tools at our disposal, no artifacts, no pumping, no nastiness, no, like nothing super claustrophobic in the loudness, but we can be getting to -9 RMS, no problem. So this could get pushed in the average loudness significantly, -9 RMS. And then your dynamic range, DR11, that's, once again, very good. There's nothing wrong with that, but we can be getting up to DR8, DR7 without any, like, destructive artifacts or, having it sound bad. Like, there's a lot of modern pop that's pushing, like, DR5 and, like, I've seen 4. every now and then. And like I can hear that, and I don't think that it sounds amazing. I think it sounds like too squished, and I would argue that it's bad. But like DR7, RMS9, like really clean, really safe. So, you can set up a mastering scheme where you're taking your final mix, you're running it through your final compressor, and you're doing like 1 dB of gain reduction max, okay? I'm just going to pull up. No. Pulling up a compressor. So like what I would do is, and like this is already mastered, so like there's already stuff on it, so this won't sound good, what I'm about to do. But if this was just the final mix, I would take a compressor, super low ratio, medium attack, medium release, set this threshold so we're barely moving the needle. Okay, so I'm gonna get that one little bit of squeeze with the compressor, and then I'm gonna turn the gain up on the compressor until we're getting to like -12 RMS. And then those last little bits of loudness, and then the last, I've got a weird routing happening to get this into the stream, so we're not going to be able to see it after the limiter. But basically, little tiny squeeze of compression, and that's going to go into your final limiter, and that's going to get you to -9 RMS, that last little bit of gain. So compression, push it to -12, limiter up to -9. Make sure that your dynamic range is still nice and healthy. And then you're done, and then that's final loudness. So, yeah, cool. I love this track. That was really, really, really good. There's a few things to dial in. I think your ears are really good. Your mix is really good. I think your room needs to catch up to where you're at. So, whip that room into shape, and you're going to be set. And then get a little more comfortable with some of this like more like up to date like loudness and all that. But I think you're in a great place. This is a wonderful track. Please drop this link like anywhere in the chat, in the comments. People should listen to this song. If you don't, I'm going to do it for you. So for anyone watching, this is Atonuv Open Studio. You can send mixes into my email, which is atonuvrecords@gmail.com. The link's all over the place. You can send that at any point. We are through our submissions as of this moment. I am generally here from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, so we got time. Feel free to send something in at any point. Also, if you just have like a general question about stuff, you can ask it in the chat, and we'll talk about it right now. Yeah, cool stuff. while we wait for tracks to come in, I'm just going to play some copyright-free electronica so that I'm not just blowing out my voice talking and also just rambling on about stuff. So, we're hanging out. All right, for anyone watching, wondering what the heck is going on, this is a ton of Open Studio, your nightly mixed feedback live stream. You can send tracks at any time to atonuvrecords@gmail.com, and we'll load them up. We'll take a big old look at them, see everything that's going on in your mix. And yeah, it is fun. You can send stuff in whenever. Just put Open Studio somewhere in the subject line so I know what's up. If you are working on a final mix, a master, a demo, anything, feel free to send it in. If you're doing a cover, just let me know. And YouTube and everything is not a big fan of copyright stuff, so I'll mute the stream, listen to it, and still give feedback on it. Also, if you're working on something and you feel like it's like a little too rough for the entire internet to listen to it right now, also totally cool. Just give me a heads up. I'll mute the stream, listen to it myself, and then we can talk about it on the stream and get some good ideas going. Yep. So happy to be here with everybody. This has been super fun. We'll be here 6 p.m. Eastern every night because it is way too fun. Cool. So we'll just hang out, let those tracks come in. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. All right, we are getting another submission from Scarholm. Looking forward to that. And while we wait, I will just go ahead and do the Patreon shout out. I need to add another person into the text. So we do have a Patreon going to keep this stream happening. And we have a couple of people to shout out. We got Demeter and Mason. Thank you very much. Y'all are great. This text box is too big. Still too big. Let's make it smaller. Am I just moving you or am I shrinking you? There we go. Thanks, y'all. This is your nightly shout out. Y'all are great. And let's see. Looks like I need permission to access that drive folder. Just sent that your way. Let's put on a tune. All right, we've got that track. Forget It All Full. Let's take a look at it.
You've been down and I've been on the run. I've been waiting for you. When you look so bad, it's almost fun. I've been waiting for you. Forget all, just forget all. You never learning our tricks, so forget it all. Forget all, just forget all. I never show you my tricks, so forget it all. Faster, better, smarter, more grotesque. We own the world now. Try to show us who is best. But you're moving in circles. Got no time to follow any rules. We do as we please. We're a team and we are on the loose. The laws are for you. Forget all, just forget all. You never learned a trick, so forget it all. Forget all, just forget all. You never learned a trick, so forget it all. We are one, and we got it on. You better watch out for us when it all goes down. 'Cause we are one, and we got it on. Days like this, you wanna make a call and forget it all.
Okay, another excellent track. And I'm about to find out what limiter you're using. So the two pieces of good news. First off, once again, great track. Second piece of good news, you are incredibly consistent. I'm seeing the same issues as I saw on the last track. So I'm definitely sure that this is a room thing for you. There's just cool. There is not enough 60, and there's just too much low end rumble below 100. So cleaning up the bass below 100, and especially below 80. Like, you know, as we're going lower, I'm gonna be like, and definitely here. So like below 100, yeah, generally too much bass. Below 80, yeah, we're hitting the danger zone. At 60, yeah, we got to get rid of some of that rumble. And then at 40, 30, 20, etc., just like get rid of it. You're eating up a lot of room, and it's a little bit indistinct and smeary down in the sub region. And then the kick could really have more presence, more punch. Not even necessarily by adding anything to it, but just getting rid of that bass stuff that's conflicting with your kick. Same thing as the last one, and your room's not treated and you don't have a sub, so you're not really hearing it, and that's why. So in lieu of hearing it, because hearing it is going to cost like some money and all that, just be a little more conservative with your bass down in that region. Clean it up a little bit. And then mid-range, like, vocals have really excellent presence, but you're achieving that presence by dumping a whole lot of like 500 at it, and it's bordering on too much right there, like right around 500. Like, we're bordering on being mid-rangey and not having like a wide open sound because we're focusing too much energy at 500. It's like right on the cusp. And then same deal, like we hit like 1.5K on this, and then we're losing info. It's a little bit brighter up above 4K because you're using like kind of like a dance kit, and there's just a little more cymbal activity. But the snare could still use that thwack, dumped in at 1.5K. Just pull up a Pultec, add 1.5K to your snare, just in general, and then I think you'll just like be able to pull it out of the mix a little bit with a little more pop. Same basic advice, like get an RFZ thing going in your room, and then when you're mixing, you just need to kind of expand your mind into that at like post 2K range, because your mix is good, but you just need to start spreading things out a little bit more. So that presence that you have in the vocals is awesome. I love where the vocals sit in the mix. But as you start expanding into like opening up your frequency territory, make sure that you're letting the vocals also go into that. So like some of that bump at 500 could get shaved down and then pushed into like 3K or 2K or 1K, and just kind of just like widen out your vocals, widen out your instruments, and then constrain your low end. Less range for your kick, less range for your bass. Make them a little more distinct, and then all of this middle ground stuff needs to get smoothed out. Now, loudness on this is a lot better. We're hitting -9 RMS, and once again, like, you're using more of a dance kit, so I think you just maybe felt a little more comfortable pushing the level. Make sure that you're using on the fab filter, I'll pull up mine. Make sure that you've got true peak on, and then set the out to like -0.1, -0.2. I was seeing some true peaks on this, so something's not quite right in your settings on your fab filter. So just take a look at that and make sure that you've got Once again, I'll make sure that it's over where it's visible. Oh, no, it's not. 1 second. There. Awesome. Thanks for listening. And yeah, I know the chat isn't the best way to get stuff across, but we're on like a 30-second delay, so it's very weird on my end. So yeah, so the fab filter, true peak limiting for sure, minus 0.1, minus 0.2, and oversampling. I don't have it on because I'm live streaming and I'm not recording and all that, but use the oversampling on the L2 for sure. It'll just be better. Excellent. So once again, excellent track. Thank you for sending it in. Thank you for listening, and I think that if you just dial in those few things, your mixes are going to be even better. They're already very good, and they can only get better. At this point, you've got a great start on everything. So send stuff in anytime. I am super happy to listen to it. So for anyone watching, if you are like, what's going on here? This is Atonuv Open Studio. This is night 6. This will be streaming every day from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And you can send tracks to atonuvrecords@gmail.com. The link is in the description. And you can just send it in, put Open Studio in the subject line, and I'll pull it up. We'll listen to it, and we'll figure out what's going on in your room, what's going on in your mix. Things that could get punched up. How do we make it bigger? How do we make it brighter? How do we get it sounding its best? Or if you're just in like the sketch phase of a track and you're wondering about what to do next, go ahead, send it in. We'll just kind of, talk about it. Yeah, and while we wait for tracks, I'm going to go ahead and put the little like send your tracks thing back in. Cool. If you have any questions about music production stuff, you can always ask in the chat or send an email, and we'll talk about it during the stream. I have been talking a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and take a small break on my mouth, and we'll just put on some copyright-free electronica and hang out and see if some tracks come in. So we'll be here for about an hour. At any time, feel free to send stuff in. Hey, so this is a ton of Open Studio, episode 6 nights in a row. We'll be doing this every night, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to share the link, like and subscribe, etc., etc. And during this time, every day, I give a couple hours of time to just take in tracks from, it's been all over the world, which is amazing. And I always love meeting people from other places. So this has been really cool for me. And yeah, lucky. I'm a lucky guy. So at any time, you can send stuff in and get a look and a listen at it in my studio, and I'll figure out what's up with your frequency spectrum, if something's a little too compressed, etc., etc. You can send anything in anytime, and I'm happy to take a look at it. And I just got something from David, so let's take a look. Let's see. David's been sending stuff the last few days, and that's been super cool. People have been sending like the same track a few days in a row, and we've been able to just really, really tighten it up, or like different tracks, and that's been very cool. So David has sent in stuff for the last few days, and this is a track that is fresh as of today, so that's cool. It's a super rough mix. There's a limiter on it for volume. It's a sketch. Cool. Let's take a look. And okay, and this is a sketch. So as everyone listens to it, just be aware this is a sketch, and that's totally cool to send in. This is an environment where we can do that. So really cool. Let's take a look at a very, very fresh idea. I am excited. It is downloading. Cool. We got it.
Like a train filling the sky while sleeping.
Couldn't possibly know where I'm at. It's too damn awesome.
Well, that's a super fun track. I think this is a really, 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 really solid start. Um, you've got a really nice general mix happening already. And you're doing, and like I heard this on the last few tracks that you sent in too, like you've got a great sense of moving from section to section. Your transitions are really good, and just the delineations between like minute to minute are really great, and it doesn't ever feel samey. These are like really exciting listens, and that's fun. So if I was to turn that into feedback, I would say like double down on that as a strength. Like know that that's something that you're already doing particularly well, and then kind of lean into it. Like you're making dance music that has particularly well thought out like movement structure within it, which isn't something that I hear all the time, if at all. So lean into your strength and see where that mind frame puts you. That would be like my esoteric Brian Eno suggestion on what to do with this. Like, see how far you can push these boundaries of changing from section to section. Mix wise, like, it's nice and wide. The imaging, like, just so you know, like, always check in mono. Your low end is crazy tight. So that's like the be all end all, like the thing that can't go away when we sum to mono. So just so you know, some of the like cymbal splashes are pushed like all the way to the side, and we're losing those in mono, but I don't think that that's a deal breaker. But just so you know, like, always check your mono and see if you can live with whatever's getting lost being taken away. I wouldn't say that it's bad. Like, I just noticed that it's like particularly wide, and we're just losing like some of that splash and shimmer. 12K on up. I don't think that that is gonna come back to bite you. Your kick is really nice and separated. Like, I'm seeing it. You've got a kick at like 35, and nothing else is there, and it's doing its thing. And then you've also got like an electronic kick thing happening, backing it up, that's more in like the mids. So I'm never like, where's the kick? Like, the kick is always there, but its fundamental is down at 30. So that's like about as low as you can go on a kick. Be very careful with it, because I can tell you right now that like in this state, that fundamental at 30 is just cranked real high. It's not bad yet, but if you go like 1 more dB at 30, you're gonna be swamping your mix. So be very, very careful about that. And that's kind of the give and take when we have like a super low fundamental kick, is it takes more energy and it takes more space to push that fundamental through. So what I would recommend in the mix is, first off, don't blow it up any harder. And then see if there's anything, like mute your kick and then take a low pass and just low pass your mix. I know that you also don't have a sub and you're mostly mixing on headphones, so this is going to have to be like, you're going to kind of have to push your environment to its max. So what I would do, mute your kick and take a high pass and just shove it all the way down to like 50, or not a high pass, a low pass. Sorry, high cut. Take that and take it all the way down to like 50 or 40, and then see, I mean, like, if you've got headphones on, just like shove them against your head and just like listen if there is anything happening below 40 when you mute the kick. And if there is, just carve it out. Get rid of everything from 30 to 40 in anything that isn't your kick. Like, just obliterate it, because you've already eaten up all the headroom that you have at 30. And if that kick fundamental isn't powerful, then, it's like, where's the kick? Where's the beef in the sub? So just clean out as much room as you possibly can for that kick. Now, the other thing is, so when we have a fundamental that low, what we need to do is we need to have something triggering our ear to know that we need to pay attention to the kick. And you've done a great job of that. There's like a nice thwappy, zippy, like zap kick that's up in the audible spectrum, and it's bringing my attention to it. But that said, if this is getting played at the club, we want to make sure that that fundamental in the sub is crazy clean. Like, the cleanest you can possibly get it, the better. So that's the low end. And then you're pretty bare from, just so you know, I think that the bass could get brought up from like 100 to 200. And we are bordering on, I wouldn't say it because it's mostly, yeah, no, you're good. Just 100 to 200, give some love to the bass. And then from 4K on up, 3K, 4K, you're starting to lose information, just gradually sloping down. And this is, rough mix. So make sure, and then in the email, you said you were thinking about getting like some like analog white noise chord stuff going. Like, I think that's an awesome idea. And I would just make sure to spread it out into like 4K and above. Like, if you're going to add stuff, we're really missing like ear candy stuff at this point, frequency wise. Get some stuff up there, pan it around. Yeah. This is and I just hopped, I was like just talking, and now I'm looking at the chat. So let's see. Yeah, you go check in mono. Yeah, check in mono throughout the thing. And then yeah, okay, so getting the kick right. Like, that's all of my stuff on the kick. That's where I think we're at in the mix. I hate to like blow up your mix, but if you're feeling like the kick isn't sitting right after you keep doing some mixing, the reason that it is because the fundamental is crazy low. I like personally, and I'm mostly doing rock stuff, but even in dance production, like which is mostly when I was doing like the live techno stuff, I would dump all of the kick at 60 like all the time. That's what I'm going for. I generally don't go lower than 40 for the kick fundamental. So if you're still having trouble getting the kick to feel right, I would maybe grab another sample and get one that has just a slightly higher fundamental. That would be kind of a, worst case scenario move. Not totally necessary. I think my stream cut out for a second. Let's see. Okay, it looks like we're pushing back. So yeah, I mean, what I was saying was you might consider changing your kick sample to one that has a slightly higher fundamental frequency. Something more in the, like, I know we want it like super, super deep and big, but something more like from 40 to 60 might just fit in the mix a little bit better. So yeah, maybe change that kick 100 to 200, beef it up, and then throw ear candy above 4K. That is what I would be doing mix-wise at this point. Compositionally, I think you're on the right track of just adding something with, yeah. Yeah, tuning everything up would certainly do the trick. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to listen to a little bit more of this. Yeah, I mean, get some it would be cool to have like a very very big open reverb that you automated and only sent stuff to sometimes, just to flesh it out, you know, have like a very big flavor verb. I could see that working well in some of these moments, like with this keyboard line. Big. Shove it out. That could be a fun way of just accenting all of those cool transitions and just building a little more of like a soundscape. Like, don't just have a huge reverb that stuff is being sent to all the time, because it's going to take away one of the great things about this track is it's such a like a battle track. It's super tight. I can just, you know, I feel it. Yeah, tight is the only description that I have for it. It just feels like a total battle track. That's my feeling about it. And if it gets spaced out too much all the time, then it's going to lose that tightness and its excitement and its driving feel. So, just like a flavor verb that kicks on sometimes, like maybe 4 times in the entire piece. Yeah, man. All of that's really cool. So, in summation, low end, clean it up, maybe pitch that kick up. The bass, it's such a cool bass line, and if you just threw some excitement at it at 100 to 200 in there, then it's gonna just leap from the speakers and be an even bigger part of the piece. Everything from 250 to 2K, super good. Throw ear candy up at the top end, and if you're gonna flesh stuff out, have it be ear candy. Also, this arrangement and the melody and the harmonies and the bass line, like, you're already there. So outside of just maybe throwing stuff into the stratosphere for some of these like quick changes and stuff, like maybe like a one-shot sample here and there to just grab attention from, like 8 bars to 8 bars, 16 bars to 16 bars, just, something that leaps out at a moment. I wouldn't add any melodic content, just stuff to keep the listener engaged and just kind of lean into your best instincts because you're already doing it. So maybe just do a little more. Yeah, that's where it's at. Super cool to hear like 1 day's worth of work. I think this sounds killer as is. So just smooth out the mix, maybe add a little more to the arrangement. But you're most of the way there. Cool. All right, Scarholm, you've sent a couple of tracks. I'm gonna do one more of yours, and I'm gonna save another for another stream, just so I have a variety going forward, and I'd love to have some stuff for tomorrow's stream already ready to go. I'm gonna do Mare. This is a new one, almost finished. I'm feeling like listening to fresh stuff.
Jag känner vad du känner nu. Ingenting, det är bara du. Rytmen är så inompå. Knappt så jag kan stå. Jag vill ha mer. 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 Färgglada lampor runt om. Se på mig och se dig om. Ingenting är som förut. Andas in och andas ut. Ögon som kristaller från stjärnorna där hemifrån. Ansiktena som har glöd. Himmelen är röd. Jag vill ha mer. 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 Dansar in i dina moln. Ser gudinnan härifrån. Hon har smycken runt sin hals. Läppar med judisk glans. Jag ville ha ingenting. Tror jag ändrade riktning. Ge mig allt och lite till. Sommaren kan stå still. Jag vill ha mer. 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 Jag vill ha mer.
Okay, that's another great song. So we've listened to a few of your tracks today, and they're all wildly different, which is really, really cool. Great range of songwriting, and everything is well thought out and totally fits in the genre that you are working in. So, yeah, incredible songwriting and composition. So what I'm going to say is same thing, incredibly consistent in where the problems are, which is below 100 and over 2K. So I will triple down on it, get your room set up because we're missing information in those two regions. The mid-range is perfect, like well arranged, sounds good, detailed, like I'm not missing anything in there, and I just feel like I know what every instrument is doing. Everything's well separated and incredibly well mixed within those confines. So if you just open up your room and your mind across the spectrum, you're gonna get even better mixes. The um, the thing that's unique on this one and needs to be addressed is the kick and the bass are hitting at exactly the same time. You've got the kick and the bass locked into the same rhythm, and that is creating an issue in your low end because like in a like in jazz and rock and metal and everything, like you generally swing the bass away from the kick and they're not like dead on lockstep. Um And when you have the kick and the bass hitting at exactly the same time, their transients are happening at the same time, and we're unable to get separation between kick and bass. They're just so they're already in the same frequency range, and then when they're hitting at the same time, then we're getting like double smearing. So there's two ways to remedy this. One would be, well, there's three ways, I guess. One would be to rearrange it so that the kick and the bass aren't locked into the same rhythm. That's not going to necessarily be appropriate in this piece because we don't want a busy bass line under a ballad, you know? Like, I see what you're doing in that. We don't want a syncopated bass line. We don't want to be going boom, boom. More than likely not the answer. The most conservative way to address this is to just like really scoop out the low end from the bass, like high pass it up to 60 and then do a shape like just come on, plugins. There we go. So, like, pass it up to 60, and then get a bell, and skloop out, like, up to 100. Something like that, or you could use a shelf right in there. Be really aggressive with taking out low end from the bass so that we don't have time smear and frequency smear happening at the same time. The other thing that you could do is some sidechain, which, like sidechain compression on kick and bass, like we use it all the time in dance and electronic stuff and occasionally in rock and metal. You wouldn't necessarily think of sidechain on a ballad, but maybe that's the answer here, to just swing you could do a sidechain setup to just gently swing the bass away from the kick so that we aren't hearing the transient of the bass attack. Like we're just kind of smearing that away and giving away to the kick. So experiment with those two techniques in your low end. Like just take away oodles of low end on the bass, or like a nice subtle quick side chain between the kick and the bass to just pull away the bass's attack transient. Give those a shot. maybe that's the answer. So, yeah, low end, clean that up. And then on the track as a whole, got to get stuff above 2K, and then you're good to go. So that's that. And then iDiamond, I'm going to save for tomorrow. So that'll come up early in the stream, and we'll take a look at it. Yeah. Okay, so this is Atonuv Open Studio, where we do live mix feedback every night from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've been a really cool group of people have been watching this for the last 6 days, so I just got to say thanks for being a part of it. It's been really cool to listen to all this music. Everything that's gotten sent in has been really great to listen to. We've had a bunch of cool discussions. I feel very happy to be doing this, so thank you all so much. At any time, you can drop a track into my inbox. It's atonuvrecords@gmail.com. I like getting stuff throughout the day. I kind of plan out what I'm going to do that night. So anytime, feel free. And I'll be here for another like half hour or so. If you've got something you want to send it in. If anyone has a question about absolutely anything music related, feel free to pop it into the track and into the chat, not the track. I'm thinking about tracks. So yeah, drop a question into the chat anytime. We could talk about it, pull up some examples and all of that. I am starting to feel a little parched from talking so much, so I'm going to take a small break and grab some water, and I'm just going to put on some copyright-free electronica, and I'll be right back. Hey, everybody. This is Atonuv Open Studio. You can send tracks in anytime for immediate mix feedback. We'll deep dive into what's going on in your mix and figure out what we can do to tighten it up, bring stuff out, settings to do, anything that you want to talk about with music production, totally open. You can send in demos, send in final mixes, talk about like how to get your best master out of it, anything that you need. And I'll be here for like another 10 minutes. So if someone out there is holding on to something, feel free to send it in to atonuvrecords@gmail.com and we'll take a look at it. If not, we're just hanging out, and I'll be back tomorrow, 6 to 8. It's been awesome so far. Okay, folks. This was a ton of open studio. Here every night, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can send tracks to atonuvrecords at gmail.com anytime. Hit me up whenever. It's been a couple hours, and I'm not seeing anything coming into the inbox. If something comes in the next, minute while I'm doing this ending spiel, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. But if not, I will see you all tomorrow, and we'll start with a fresh batch of tracks. Oscar, we're going to take a look at iDiamond. I am really excited to listen to it. Everything else was really good, so I'm sure it is great as well. And, yeah, super cool. Happy to be here. It's been great. All of that. I'll see everybody tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to sign off. Keep making awesome stuff. See ya.